provided us with the beautiful art sculpture that's currently down by the river. Melanie, can you give us a little bit of an update? Okay.
So thank you, Your Honor and Council. As you mentioned, Mayor Schultz, we had a solicitation of art earlier this year. It's part of our arts task force, and it was their first solicitation. And you'll see a scrolling of the work that was chosen and ultimately installed. This is located in the parking lot down by the Riverfront Renaissance. And it was a really, really nice process. It was Willisy, Mr. Tynes has been a great artist to work with, and really a good learning experience for the city staff and for our arts task force, who spent a lot of time and energy and were very thoughtful on the artwork being chosen for this first round. We are fortunate to have Mr. Tynes here tonight, and so I'd like to just welcome him and have him come up and say a couple words about his artwork and the process. Thank you.
Good evening, Your Honor, and City Council members. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Willisy Tynes. I live in Wade Park, Minnesota. I'm originally from the Bahamas. The next question you're thinking that you're not asking right now is, how did you get here? The lady over there in the turquoise shirt, she told me it was just like the Bahamas here. So that's why I'm here. I was ecstatic to learn that I was a finalist for this project, and so when I presented my concept to the task force, having them come back to me and wanting a small design of what this would look like, it got me really excited. When I came up with the design, I always think about artwork having a meaning and a purpose, and I wanted a piece. I know they were asking for any sort of suggestions as to what pieces the artist would present, but if I was going to present a piece, I wanted something that was very intricate to the city's history, and it had meaning to it. And so I made sure that the design that I came up with incorporated a lot of the city's history in it. And so once I presented it to the task force, they liked it. They made some adjustments, which I was okay with, and some of those things just added to the beauty of the piece even more. The project started or commenced, I think, in March, and we got it completed in July. We didn't run into any hiccups. Thank you to Nick. We certainly had everything we needed to get this project from start to finish, and the city was wonderful to work with. You hardly find when you're working with the city and you're doing an art project that you don't run into any problems. So that was excellent, and I thank you very much for that. So hopefully, with this particular project, the city continues to have added growth to their art collection. The project itself was seen by some 40,000 readers in a news article in the Bahamas. So Hastings is now known in the Bahamas. It is. Some days, yes, some days, yeah. And so, yeah, this project hopefully would be the catalyst to many more good things to come. And if possible, I have the opportunity to work with the city of Hastings again. I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tynes. I'm glad you were able to make it down here, and for us to be able to thank you in person for the work you've done, sort of on our inaugural season with our art along the river. So it's been a great honor. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing him to Minnesota. That's fabulous. Council will go on to our second presentation, Pleasant Hill Library update. Mary Scheid.
Exit out of here quickly, Your Honor.
Mayor, council members, and city staff, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to give you yet another library update. When I was here in June, we were just getting ready to kick off our summer. And I'm really pleased to report that we had over 700 children grades preschool up to 5th grade in Hastings, and over 200 teens participate in the summer reading program at Pleasant Hill. So over 900 youth were participating, which was just excellent. We had a wonderful summer partnership with the City of Hastings Park and Recreation Department with story times in the park at your beautiful new Rotary Pavilion. We had 4 monthly story times from June until September with an average attendance of 112. So it was really very successful, and we're looking forward to continuing this collaboration in 2017. We're already starting to talk about it. So I have in front of you as a handout a half-page green sheet. We are looking between now and October 17th for Hastings residents to tell us what you think. Dakota County is beginning the process of renovating Pleasant Hill Library, which was opened in 1994 and has not had any remodeling since it was opened. The first step is to conduct a needs assessment, and that's where we're at right now. So we have a public survey that's available online for residents to complete. We are looking to better understand who our library patrons are, what's important to them, what features are important to them, and patrons' ideas about what we could do to improve our building and Pleasant Hill Library. So we very much welcome comments. The survey is online. There's more information on our website. For those that don't have online access, we do have paper copies of the survey in the library. So we hope that you'll take a few moments to do that. Our fall program schedule is also in front of you, the salmon-colored handout. As a reminder, in the school year, the library is open on Sunday afternoons from 1 until 5. Our regular story times are back on Mondays and Wednesday mornings. We also have a monthly evening story time on Tuesdays for those that can't come out during the day. From October 10th until October 26th, we are hosting an Art of Ancient Egypt exhibit, and we're doing this in partnership with the Hastings schools. The display will kick off with a reception the evening of October 10th and will include display of artwork from our own local elementary school students. So each elementary school has been creating art. I believe the 20 chosen from each school will be on display at the library for that entire period of time. So we're looking forward to that. We do have 2 programs scheduled during the MEA school break. On Thursday, October 20th, for those that are interested, we have a hands-on reptile exhibit. That'll be an open house format, so over the course of about 3 hours, families can come in and enjoy that. And then on the Friday, we have Science Outside the Box is presenting a program that has to do with the Harry Potter books and the magic involved in those stories. The Dakota County Workforce Center is presenting a 3-part series in October on Thursday afternoons. They'll cover resume writing, cover letters and thank you notes, and interviewing skills. Those are available. And those are just a few highlights of some of the programs that we have going on this fall. There's much more. You also have in front of you a red ticket. And this is a new program that we have called Smart Pass. It's a collaboration between 16 arts organizations in the Twin Cities and the Metropolitan Library Service Agency. This is a program that that's required is your library card. You can go online and you can find free and discounted admission to all of these different organizations and venues throughout the Twin Cities. Some of them include the Minnesota Children's Museum, the Ordway Theater, the Illusion Theater, the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, and the Minneapolis Institute of Art. That's just to name a few. They will add events and offerings as time goes on, but you can go on at any point and look for a date. You can filter it by, you know, that it's for families or that you want a performance or a museum. And that's all available just using the website with your library card. So more information about SmartPass, our needs assessment, all of our fall programs is available on our website, dakotacounty.us/library. And I hope that everyone will take advantage of them, and we really are looking for the feedback on our needs assessment. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mary. When you mentioned the age of the library, 4 days, your grand opening was 4 days before my second daughter was born. I vividly remember being there. But it was such a great place, the new library, and I had 2 girls. And so it was very, very a great spot for us to always be, and for them to enjoy reading. So I thank you very much for your service and encourage everyone to take the survey. Council members, yes, questions? Councilman Vaughn.
Thanks, Mary. Mary, quick question on your needs assessment. Are you guys looking at internally or looking at expanding the library, or is that not even discussed yet? Are you just looking what you guys need for more?
That's yet to be determined.
Okay.
Yeah, the needs assessment will be part of that, and the needs assessment will take place over the next several months, and there will be concepts developed that will go to the county board.
Okay.
That'll be, what can be done will be based on the budget.
Okay.
Right?
That's helpful. I had toured your makerspace over in the Westcott Library, and I was
Yes.
just curious if that was, I'll make sure I put the notes in here that
Please
a
do.
makerspace would be great for Hastings.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Are there any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Members, we will now go to the approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, they stand approved. Council items to be considered. Any council members have any items to be considered? Melanie, I believe you've got one that we need to deal with.
Thank you, Your Honor and Council. Staff would request that the council consider removing item number 11 from the consent agenda. That item was actually acted upon by the council at the last meeting in September, so it's a duplicate item. We'd request that that just be removed from the consent. Thank you.
We need a motion in a second. Moved by Councilmember Brox, seconded by Councilmember Balsanek. All in favor, say aye. Aye. No? Motion carries. And now approval on consent agenda. Moved by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Councilmember Alonji. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Now we are on to community development. We've got a resolution on a conditional use permit. And John, can you give us the details on the issue, please?
Will so, Madam Mayor. What we have before us tonight is a conditional use permit for an underground utility that passes through the floodway district. And my screen's not coming down right now, so you're seeing a map on a wall, but this is, here it goes, within your packet itself. The applicant for this is Zale. They are proposing to construct a utility line, fiber optic line that runs through Hastings. And I'll show a map here in just a second to give a better idea of what is being proposed. There we go. So the route that there is shown in red here, it goes from the northern city limits of Hastings all the way to about 5th and Sibley Street. The area here in yellow is the area that's within the floodway district, in the area that is subject to the conditional use permit. Per our floodplain ordinance, any utility that passes through this area within the floodway district does require that permit requirement. We did have the Planning Commission review this at their last meeting on September 26th. They did recommend approval on a 7-0 vote. No one spoke for or against it during the public hearing at that time. Commissioners discussed other options for crossing the river. One of the questions that came up was there the opportunity to have the utility on the bridge itself as opposed to boring under the river to bring the utility across. And similar question that we had for Zale early on in the process. We pushed them to work with the Minnesota Department of Transportation to see if it was possible to co-locate the utility on the bridge. what we learned from MnDOT is there's two types of utility provisions within the bridge itself, one for the state, one for private utilities. The state portion of that bridge would not be available to Zale since they're a private utility. We directed them then towards private utility providers to see if they could have an opportunity to lease out some space there, and they were unable to do so. So they did go through some due diligence to see if there were other opportunities to bring the utility across other than going underneath the river itself, but ultimately that's what was decided. So the boring itself would be about a 4-inch bore altogether, located 5 to 10 feet below the surface from the Washington County side over to the city of Hastings side. The area would be within MnDOT right-of-way itself. As far as other comments or questions we received at this point, we haven't received any questions from the public. We did send notification out, so I can stand for any questions at this time. Just a reminder, council, that this is a conditional use permit requiring 6 of 7 council members. So tonight we have 6 council members. It would need to be a unanimous vote tonight. Thank you.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, so who is Zayo Group? Just can you give me a little more background about what they're doing, why they want to do it,
Sure.
what the plan is, maybe a timeline that they're hoping to accomplish?
Sure. They are a fiber optic utility, so they would be extending a fiber optic line from Washington County into the city of Hastings. It would be more of a backbone for their network, from what I understand of it. The time frame for the project itself, I'm unclear as to whether that would still take place this year or not, but they want to get started on this either late this year or early next year.
And there's several other approvals that are needed for them to get before they can actually start the project. So do we think that within 1 year they'll be able to get all those approvals? Is that what they plan to do?
Sure, council member, they have received some of the approvals already from the Corps of Engineers primarily, and also from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. So I think 2 of the larger approvals have been acquired by Zale.
Questions? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you. John, bring me through where it's going to come up. I mean, obviously, it's going to be underneath the river as it goes across the river. But as it comes up, we spent a lot of money and a lot of investment and time beautifying our riverfront. What's it going to do when it comes ashore?
It'll still be underground, council member. This will be entirely an underground utility line. So from where it stretches in Washington County to where it hooks up at 5th and Sibley, it would all be underground.
Okay, so there's connection already there that we're not digging
Correct.
up everything.
Right. What you'd see on the surface from this with their boring machine is anytime there's a change in the angle, they'd have to dig about a 4x4 bore pit to put the machine in to change the angle. That's a temporary construction activity, so once the boring is done, that would be filled back in.
Okay, so, and then a follow-up question, Your Honor. And I don't know if we really answered Councilmember Brock's question in full. What are they going to do with this? I mean, we have fiber optic coming to town already. I believe so, at least through the county. I know that. What are they going to do with this? I mean, does it help support, can I get faster internet speed out of this eventually?
Sure. My understanding of it is it's connecting, the Dakota County backbone system that is currently, it can be accessed at 5th and Sibley with other backbones that are within Washington County and closer to the Twin Cities. That's my understanding of the project.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Any other questions? Councilmember Alangi.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to follow up on what Councilmember Nelson was saying. I'm less concerned about under the river because I think with DNR, Army Corps of Engineers, I think they're watching our back on that, and I'm confident that it's okay to do. I am more concerned about where I see it going after it hits Hastings and the shoreline. How many orange cones are we going to be putting up, and how long are they going to stay there? Because I say it somewhat joking, but we've promised downtown business that we're coming to the end of all the orange barrels and all the orange cones and the stopping of traffic and all the parking limitations and all this other stuff. And what I don't want to see happen is for us to find another reason to throw up more orange just as we're trying to come to the conclusion of an important project.
Sure.
What's been said, or what is your understanding of what needs to be done?
Let me go down to the downtown map here, council member, just to give us some idea. This is where it would cross the river here as it comes in, so it'd be along that frontage road to the east. Oops, I guess I didn't go any further south because that's outside the floodway, so that's not gonna help. At that point, it does cross the 61 a couple of times. So you're gonna see areas that where you're gonna have a borehole at 3rd and Sibley or 3rd and Vermilion within the right of way, and then on the other side of it, on the west side. So anytime you see a corner, you're gonna see a 4x4 hole. It's gonna be within the right of way. I have not heard that it's gonna be have any disruption to traffic within that area.
All right, Your Honor, and John. My next question then involves more of a push on what we are benefiting as a community here. It looks to me like we are offering, they are trying to do this so that they can hook up to something that we already have, that Dakota County provides and brings services into the city at taxpayer expense. And that then we have a private actor coming in and asking for essentially a hookup to go across the river. In other words, this isn't coming from north to south, this is going from south to north, to go elsewhere. And they are making use of public right-of-way to do that. What are the taxpayers of Dakota County and the city of Hastings getting for allowing this?
I think that'd probably be more of a question for Zayo. I'm not sure if they have representatives for them available tonight. It doesn't appear that we do.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot for something that you didn't come up with this proposal. Your Honor, I have reservations. I don't know what this is. You know, we're in a, you know, government's always trying to keep up in a 21st century economy and all the wonderful technology that's out there and all the wonderful ways of providing it. And I'm sure this is a, you know, perfectly legitimate company with perfectly legitimate goals and business goals, and we ought to try to be as supportive of as many businesses as we possibly can at any one given point in time. They are using the public right-of-way, which taxpayers, we as the local representatives have a right to know what the public right-of-way is being used for. And I don't know what it's being used for, so I can't support this until I do.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? I have one, John. I'm trying to wrap my head around why they can't use what's available to them on the bridge. And I understand there's some public, some private, but what was the situation that they couldn't tap into the private allowances that were made on the bridge?
Sure. They approached several utility providers that have conduit or space available on the bridge right now, and when we're unable to come to an agreement with them.
When you say several private, so what privates are already on the bridge? Do you know?
I think Comcast is on the bridge, CenturyLink, I'm looking over to Nick. Am I hitting some of them? Excel, yeah.
Okay, but there is enough space for that to happen on the bridge. And, I mean, was this an issue of competitors not wanting to give someone else an opportunity to, you know, to provide, come in and be a provider of something? Or, I mean, do you have any idea what any of those negotiations were about?
I didn't have a lot of detail on the negotiations, no.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Balsanek.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Okay, so Zayo, is this a nationwide company? Are they regional? I've got all kinds of questions. Are they going to be selling their service line to fiber optic companies like Sprint and AT&T and so forth, internet service? It'd sure be nice to know a little bit more about them.
Sure. I know a limited amount of information on Zayo, beyond what they're constructing underneath the river. That there's not much more I do know about them.
Any follow-up, Councilmember?
Yeah, I guess I just have reservations as well. I mean, I'm all for private business and so forth, but I guess I'd like to know more about them and what it does for the people of Hastings. are the residents with internet going to get better service? Is this primarily a commercial line that's being put in? Is it a combination of both? Perhaps if we got a representative or two from the company, it might clarify some things. That being said, and the fact that the Vikings start in about 10 minutes, I will be quiet, but I digress.
Councilmember Vaughn?
I have some information I got about the Zayo Group just from quick looking it up for Councilmember Balsanek's benefit. They're a publicly traded company headquartered in Boulder, Colorado. They provide communications infrastructure services, including fiber and bandwidth connectivity, co-location, and cloud services. Their primary customers include data centers, wireless carriers, national carriers, ISPs, enterprises, and government agencies.
Thank you. Councilmember Vaughn?
Thank you, Your Honor. And that confirms that, I don't know, John, you're asking us to approve the yellow area, correct, in the
Correct.
floodplain? And it says here that they are bringing a fiber optic. Yes, it's a private sector. I'm not too hung up on it. I think we're just approving that floodway area. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna come into our community. I don't understand the zigzag, why they gotta come up and go across, but I think this is gonna be good. Anytime we can connect, we are connecting with Washington County is what I'm seeing with this, with fiber optic, and I think that's a good thing for Hastings. So I'm in favor of what is going on here.
Councilmember Alanchi?
Yes, and I'm also sensitive to time, but at the same time, I do want to point out that I could easily find myself in favor of this. I just don't think we have enough information yet about the use of the public right-of-way and the other public assets that are within our jurisdiction. So that's the only reason why. I don't want any casting aspersions about the company. And they're probably a wonderful company, and I'd love to see some of the other corporations that were named earlier about who have space under the bridge. I'd love to see them get some competition, but I'd like to learn more about it first.
Council members, council tells me that we have a couple of options. If we were to deny, which it sounds like might happen because we would need a unanimous vote, we would need to have findings of fact. So our other options are to table, or we could also send it to committee to get, probably the Utilities Committee, to get more information, and then have it come back in a couple of weeks. So I guess those are kind of the decisions before us.
Your Honor, or Melanie, who is on the Utilities Committee?
I think me.
You chair?
Us three.
Your Honor, that I would hate to make a motion on behalf of somebody else on the Utilities Commission, but I'm going to be seeking to table this momentarily if we don't have another another receptacle for this.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion that we throw this back to the Utilities Committee for them to further review it and bring back to council.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion before us to refer the issue to the Utilities Committee. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Were there any other, I don't think there were any other comments at this point. Okay, thank you, John.
Sure.
We now are moving on to the approved bond sale and accept highest bidder. Thank you, Rebecca.
Good evening, Your Honor. We had a bond sale this morning for our 2016 B debt issuance. It is funding the 2016 street improvement project, Phase 3 of Riverfront Renaissance, and some equipment purchases. I have Paul Steinman here from Springstead, who will talk a little bit about the sale.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Rebecca. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this morning at 10 a.m., we took bids in our offices for your bonds. You offered $3,345,000 in the three purposes that Rebecca mentioned. You had 33 underwriters shown on this sheet, front and back, rolled up into 7 bids. Your best bid from United Bankers Bank at 1.42% true interest rate. And the issue was also resized slightly from this morning's offer because you received a premium bid and elected to reduce principal by some portion. So the offering was reduced from $3,345,000 to $3,295,000. And lastly and quickly, S&P, after a good deal of hard work from your staff, reaffirmed your AA stable outlook bond rating. So with that, I'd recommend awarding to United Bankers Bank at 1.42%. And I'm happy to take questions.
Council members, any questions? Motion from Councilmember Alonji and seconded by Councilmember Balsanek. Any other questions? You sure, Councilmember Brox? Okay. We have a motion before us, council. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here at the meeting. I believe, members, that concludes our business for tonight. We have comments from the audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor and council members, for allowing me to come tonight. My name is Leilani Homestead, and I am Senate District 54's Senate candidate for Minnesota. I've come to introduce myself. There's some literature being passed around. I don't know if everyone's familiar with all the cities that are involved with Senate District 54, but it includes parts of South St. Paul, Afton, Newport, St. Paul Park, Cottage Grove, Gray Cloud Island, Hastings, Denmark Township, and Nenninger Township. I decided to run as I've been out talking to people, and everyone lists different reasons, but it all comes down to a nutshell, or people are concerned that they're losing too much money to government. So I'm going in, I want to be a fresh voice, because it's time for family budgets to come first. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. Thank you
Okay.
very much for being here and for presenting to us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I
Thank
have
you.
the yard signs. If anybody wants any, I can hand those out too.
We all of us had our stolen, so. Misplaced, excuse me. They were misplaced, and we found some of them again. So be very careful. Thank you. I have some announcements, but members, do you have any announcements, any upcoming meetings? Councilmember Alonji.
Not quite, Your Honor, but I should say, I mean, this is neither in support of or in opposition to the candidate that was just here, but I do want to recommend to staff that we set some clear guidelines on public meetings. We take a lot of pride here in this body of being a nonpartisan. We are expected to be nonpartisan. I don't believe anything, untoward has happened here. But something that I've never seen in 12 years has happened here. And I think we should prepare for it. I think now there are questions about whether or not we have to find equal time to give it to an opponent. I think it just sets us down a road that I'm not sure we want to go down. So I would recommend to staff that we come up with clear guidelines on the use of our public hearings during election season, so that a candidate can come and know straight up, when they come in, what the guidelines are. We are a public meeting. Members of the public are always invited to speak. We want to make sure that anybody who watches this feels like the business of the city of Hastings is always foremost in our minds as we conduct our business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Alonji. Councilmember Balsanek.
Well, kind of springboard, thank you, Mayor, to kind of springboard off what Councilmember Alonji just said. I always get people asking me, constituents asking me, what's your party affiliation as a council member, and where does the council stand in terms of any political affiliation? And my answer to them is always that it is better for us to stay nonpartisan. And the reason for that is because when we get the legislature in session, when we have to deal with a governor, when we have to deal with the Congress in Washington, D.C., it is best for us to maintain a bipartisan approach, so that to endorse one candidate or another candidate would certainly come back to haunt us. The bridge is a prime example. When funding was secured for the bridge, we had congressional funding for that, we had state funding for that, And we had a nice mix of party members from both political parties who were working for us so that we could get the beautiful bridge that we have today. So I think it's good that you brought this up, and it was something that I was wanting to find an avenue to go down to mention this at some point at council meetings. But we are nonpartisan. We are not political. And I think for the reasons that I just said, it serves the city very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any announcements? I have a couple, as is usually the case, thanks to Melanie. Planning Committee of Council, Alonji, Brox, and Vaughn, will be Wednesday morning, October 5th, 7:30 here at City Hall. You will be discussing the ordinance regarding the keeping of chickens, as well as a request by Verizon to consider a cell tower at the tennis courts near Roadside Park. That should be a very fun meeting.
Your Honor, we're going to try to combine the two and see if we can keep chickens in the tower.
Oh, okay. We'll work on that one later. Thank you. Planning Commission will be meeting October 10th at 7 p.m. here at City Hall. The Fire Department open house will begin at 7 o'clock next Tuesday, October 11th at the fire station. Yeah, I thought someone said they thought it was this week. Parks and Rec Commission will meet Tuesday, October 11th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. And HEDRA, Economic Development Authority, will meet next week, Thursday, October 13th at 6:30. The next City Council meeting will be Monday, October 17th at 7 p.m. And last but not least, tomorrow night, Paws in the Park. Paws as in P-A-W-S as in dogs. 5:30 to 7 at the Rivertown Dog Park. Obviously, the dogs, you can't, it's dogs and their owners. So we hope to see the folks there. I'm going to be there with my lovely pet. You know, it's not one of those babysitter things. It's not like at the Y. So bring your pooches out there and have a good time. I think that's all we have, and I think we've just about covered everything. A motion to adjourn, non-debatable. Second by Councilmember Brox, non-debatable motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.